Poetry has the power to help you feel better or worse in some cases. I hope the poems today will help you feel better. I've looked out into society and picked up some of the major themes that's going out there, and decided to create some poems concerning those themes I saw out there in society. So once again, I hope you stay with me and hope you enjoy the program. Our lesson unfolds with our first poem, which is entitled Women Pantsuits, and the poem reads, "Come and see the pants men have created for women. They are pantsuits. He made the jacket so it will strike midway the buttocks. With lustful eyes, he will see the imprint of women's private parts as they walk. He has fashioned the garments to take away the modesty due to women. He uses his garment as a curse and weapon to kill the glory and beauty of womanhood. Yet he desires their hair, breasts, and reproductive organs. He tells women it is more convenient to wear his pants suits than a dress. Silly women can't see the fox in him. Like a wolf, he has overwhelmed the markets with racks full of women pantsuits. He engraves slogans across the buttocks to satisfy men's sexual desires. He cuts holes in parts of the pants for men to preview the woman's body. He also places a zipper in front of the garment to be used in the same manner as man. He is a fox. Women step into his pantsuits one leg at a time, just like a man. But their mothers should have taught them that women dresses are pulled over the head. Men garments are pulled onto the body one leg at a time. If you wear his pants, then he can wear your dresses. A true man would rather his bride wear a wedding gown than a pair of pants. Think about my poem, dear lady, and do your part to restore the mannerism of women. Don't let man destroy your God-given beauty through the wearing of his pantsuits." I'm glad for that first poem. It's just a thought again out there in society. We look around now, we just see the market just overwhelmed with pants, and women just wear pants. And some even have the gall to tell you that they do not even have a dress in their closet. That shows you the power that the pants have taken over the women. And this poem speaks for itself. We see the sexual desire of men, and this is how one way he gets his pleasure is through the wearing of that garment he has created for women. We're going on to our next poem. This one is entitled Hamburger and Murder. And it reads, January 15, 2015, Dylan Roof walked into an African-American Methodist Episcopal church located in Charleston, South Carolina. He joined the church Bible study class loaded with an American handgun and with the intent to kill. Like a fox, he took part in the Bible study. The members treated him with kindness. At the end of the class, he killed 9 church members. After the murder, local police took him to McDonald's for a hamburger. His hamburger meal was an award for his murder. Black lives didn't matter to him. The hamburger meal was a reflection of slavery. When white slave owners would hang out black men, they would go home and eat the best of food. They filled their bellies so they would have energy to continue their killings of African Americans. Behold, the church members saw this racist act from the white boy and recognized the old act to conquer and divide the African Americans. They recognized the trick of the fox. This historical Mother Emanuel Church forgave the white boy for his brutal act of white supremacy. They knew his mother didn't teach him to respect himself and others. They stood in unity to once again refuse the possible black and white race war and the breaking of the brother and sisterhood roots found in the African American race. Now, hopefully you was able to keep up with me on that particular poem and know the story behind the killing that there in Charleston, South Carolina at the Mother Emanuel Church. And the point I want to point out to you in this particular poem is the award he got. And I'm using that in a good sense. I think this child was awarded for killing 9 African American people with the treat of a hamburger and probably fries by the local police. And that just gives you to know black lives do not matter in that incident. We're going on to our next poem. This one is titled, Coronavirus. And this reads, why are our nations plagued with the coronavirus? The answer is simple: corruption in high places and among high officials. When man disregards God, he will send plagues. We have uncontrollable fires. We have waters overflowing their riverbanks. The streets are filled with filthy, contaminated waters. We have the coronavirus, the unknown sickness, who have no regard for children or adults. It is an ambassador for death and kills thousands across the nations daily. Our children are crying in the streets. They see parents that are helpless and can't protect them. Our automobiles and houses are swept away by strong winds, and our animals fear for safety. Who can stand this awesome hand of God? In the midst of this international health crisis, God sees his own and protects them. He will not let man take his glory. Behold, when there is corruption in high places, our God sends plagues to help mankind know that he alone is the Almighty God. So, children, the coronavirus is upon our nation because pride and corruption abide in the high seats of the land. So, we pray that man will repent from his evil and God will turn from his anger. Now, someone might say after listening to that poem, well, we have floods and we have fires all the time, so what's the big deal? The big deal is you go back, if you're any kind of Christian at all, you go back and you look into the biblical histories and you see when corruption was in the land, you see how God responded to the corruption and pride. And this is what we see out there in our society now. A lot of corruption right out of the White House on the high seats of the land, and because of that, God has suffered this coronavirus, this dreadful disease to come upon us. And you think about it. We're going on to our next poem. This one is entitled White Teachers, and it reads, oh, how I desired to be a teacher. Most of my life I watched white teachers boasting the fact they were privileged and prided themselves as being the only ones qualified to teach our black children from kindergarten to high school in what they considered their domain. They filled their heads with white lies. Some of the biggest lies were white skin is better than black skin, Columbus discovered America, Edison invented the light bulbs, and they will always be subject to whites, like their black slave ancestors. These lies they proudly taught. In some of our diverse schoolhouses, our black children are robbed weekly of having one African American teacher with no black role model teacher in early education. Our children are given a false sense of reality. This systematic racial bias was and is promoted in our democratic educational system today. I take a special delight in that poem because I look back at my son's educational route, so to speak. From kindergarten to 12th grade, he didn't have not one African-American teacher. And I think about that. He turned out okay. He turned out to be a psychiatrist in 30 years private practice. But he didn't have not one African-American teacher doing any of his early education. And this is the diverse educational system we're supposed to be having here in the United States of America. Now you think about it. Now, how could that happen? And I wonder in my mind how many more of our African-American students go from kindergarten all the way to 12th grade and never see one African-American role model teacher in the classroom. Let's go on to our next poem. This one is entitled American Slave Statues, and it reads, someone asked the no-nonsense question, should American slave statues be removed from public places? In retrospect, asked a slave if he or she would enjoy looking at a statue of a slave owner that bought and sold them, chained, branded, and hung them on trees, raped their wives and their children, and considered them 3/5 humans. Asked them if they would enjoy looking at the statues, oh foolish person. George Washington and Abe Lincoln were slave owners. Their statues, along with all other slave owners, should be removed from public places. Even the one-brained person wouldn't enjoy looking at the statues of them that brought harm to those that may read my poem and wonder why take the statues down. I would answer, look at the ropes on the black men's necks. Rub the scars on their backs. To those who ask the question, what should we do with what they considered works of art? I said, put these evil statues in exclusively slave museums, so our American government will never forget its black citizen it kept in slavery without reformation. So our black children will never forget the faces of those that owned and sold our ancestors to promote racism and white supremacy in America. And that was the whole idea behind slavery. It was just to promote white supremacy and racism. And the question you see in the poem about what do you do with the statues, I don't see where that should be a troubling question. I think all of the statues, as stated in the poem, should be removed from public places, and they should be put in an exclusive slave owners museum. So every time you walk through that door, you would know all the statues you're looking at are people who own African American slaves. Think about it. We're going on to our next, and just a final thought on that. Some said, well, if you take the statues down, you're removing all of our history. Abe Lincoln, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, all of them slave owners. You take them now, what do you do about history? What are you doing about history? You're setting history straight. We're going on to our next poem. This one is entitled Nobel Peace Prize, and it reads, God declared peace with all nations by putting his Rainbow Peace Prize in the sky. Then came Alfred Nobel with his Peace Prize. O Israel, why did you let Trump deceive you? Haven't you heard? Didn't you know Trump hates President Obama for receiving the Alfred Nobel Peace Prize for his efforts toward international peace? Trump wants this prize so he can satisfy his ego. His every dream is to spite every work of President Obama because he is a black man. So you see, Israel, Trump, like a fox, bewitched you into thinking Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. He knew you would favor his decision in making Jerusalem Israel's capital. He needed the Middle East nations to nominate him for the Nobel Peace Prize. Trump used you in his decision, not to promote international peace, but to continue his hatred for President Obama. His hatred for President Obama is crueler than the grave. Wake up, Israel, and call upon your Maker God, that he may free you from this Antichrist who comes to confuse and deceive the nations. Trump ignores God's Rainbow Peace Prize because he is not for international peace. Did you not know he even refused to accept President Obama's American-born citizenship? Wake up, Israel. Shake yourself. Wake up and know that Trump is a golden calf with a mouth full of lies and stout words that believes dynamite brings world peace. The poem kind of ends with a reflection on Alfred Nobel's life. He was a person who invented explosive dynamites and all those explosive things. And he kind of thought in his mind that that was a way and a manner in which to have peace in the earth by using dynamite. I like the part that tells about the rainbow. If you're a Bible reader, you know God put this rainbow in the sky after the flood with Noah to show that he wanted peace with mankind. So when you see the rainbow, that is a prize, a peace prize that the Lord put in the sky so you can see. And every time you look at that rainbow, you should think in your mind, God wants peace with man. Let's go on to our next poem. This one is entitled The Black-Skinned Woman, and it reads, The black-skinned woman is a true image of Africa. She is African-American and wore daily with the yellow-skinned black woman. The black-skinned woman is full of wisdom. She was raped by white slave owners and brought forth their yellow-skinned babies, but she boldly freed a lot of African slaves. The U.S. government never saw her worthy to serve on its Supreme Court. Vice President Biden overlooked her. He picked the yellow-skinned black woman to be his vice president. He picked the one with no African roots. America claims all non-white skin black. This racist belief adds to the U.S. color game. This promotes yellow skin is better than black skin. But we know yellow skin is a curse from slavery. We know non-white skinned black people will never ever be African Americans. Black skin is pure and exceeds yellow skin. It is more precious than diamonds. Val Demings was one of Biden's possible vice presidents, but her skin was too black for America to accept. Biden knew she wouldn't be accepted. He knew he had to pick the yellow-skinned black woman to keep peace with white America. The African-American woman, again, is denied an opportunity to hold a high position in America. Her God-given black skin frightens Caucasians. What a wonder about the black-skinned woman. When this night passes over, her beautiful black skin will be accepted by America and the world, and she shall be an eternal bride and queen of all women. I just want to do a reflection on the poem I just read to you by Nobel Peace Prize. We see that the gay and lesbians had used the rainbow as their symbol, and I think that is just it's terrible. It's an evil and a wickedness that should not be in the land that we're living in. That they should take God's symbol of peace that he put in the sky to show men that he wanted peace with them, and then they're going to take that with their corrupted lifestyle and use that as their symbol. Now we're going just another thought on the poem I just read to you, The Black-Skinned Woman. The poem speaks for itself. The black woman has never, ever been nominated to be on the Supreme Court, never, ever been nominated to be in any kind of real high position, like Speaker of the House here in the land. And it's terrible how that this one lady, the black-skinned woman, has done such awesome things for the nation, and she just totally denied any type of high position. We have to take a break, and I will see you shortly after break. Next poem is entitled The U.S. Supreme Court, and the poem reads, some said the Jews want to take over the U.S. These also fear the Muslims. What is wrong with this picture? It appears to me that Catholic people preceded the Jews and the Muslims. Consider, our Speaker of the House is Catholic. Consider our 9 U.S. Supreme Court judges. They are all Catholic, except Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Stephen Breyer, and Elena Kagan. What does this tell you? It says the Catholic rules the United States. Some of our presidents were of Catholic faith, but President Barack Obama wasn't Catholic. To be clear, 6 of our 9 Supreme Court judges rule from their church base. The Muslims nor the Jews have the level of power in the U.S. as the Catholic churches. The Catholic rules most of our major schools, banks, hospitals, and charity organizations. They control major grants for our communities and schools. When the U.S. can free itself from the power of the Catholic, then we will have a better America. Though they sit on the high seats, their churches are filled with priests that molest our children. The country turns a blind eye to this abuse because it knows big money flows through their churches. So, where is the diversity of the U.S. Supreme Court? We have white faces and no black woman. Going forth, we must realize for our country to grow, we must have more of a diversity to judge our country. What more can I say? This poem speaks for itself. We have the Catholic people here, and then if you look at all the key positions in the United States, believe me, they are being held by Catholic people. And then you got this big complaint out there in the society about the Muslims and the Jews. When, if a person just face the fact, you know that the Catholic people rules the United States. And I think that's a dirty shame. We're going to move on to our next poem. This one is entitled Black Women Hair Discrimination, and it reads, as a child, I lived on a farm in Tennessee, saw and fed sheep daily, but I never saw a sheep with straight or long, silky-looking wool, nor did my father add chemicals to straighten the sheep's hair. So Jesus' hair was like sheep wool. Am I to believe All of the Caucasian artists that drew his picture were unaware of what sheep wool looked like because they have his hair long and straight. What a joke. Now we have those that believe that African Americans' hair, which is a replica of Jesus' hair, is bizarre because it is not like their hair or the image they portray in the pictures of Jesus. What a joke. This outlandish discrimination of black women's hair is ludicrous. The black women of the Bible braided their hair. They brought forth the first hairstyle to be used on hair like sheep wool. Their hairstyle will never fade away. It is stylish and beautiful. No other texture of hair can match the black women's original hair, nor the skills needed to manage the hair. So, my dear black lady, be proud of your God-given hair. Know it is the unmatchable glory our God has given you. Never play down your hair to match other races' hair texture. It took Senator Holly Mitchell Crown Act law to stop some of the discrimination against our natural hair. If putting gold, ribbons, and flowers in your braided or unbraided hair distract men, so let it be, and know your beauty suppress your hairstyle, but never the glory our God has placed in your thick or thin hair. Senator Holly Mitchell had to go in California, had to go to court just to let the employers know that black women had a right to wear their hair in a natural sense. I think it's a shame and pity that the hair you born with, you had to make an excuse for it. You didn't make the hair. God put it on your head. So why should you make an excuse for the hair that you was born with? We're going on to our next poem. This one is entitled U.S. Governors. And this poem here gets my attention. And I'm hoping that you'll share your thoughts on this poem with your neighbors as I read it to you. And it reads, all of our United States governors are Caucasians. What a joke. The United States prides itself of being a country of diversity. What does this tell you? It tells me that white supremacy still rules in the country. It tells me that African Americans are still considered 3/5 humans when it comes to governing our country. It also tells me that Caucasians believe they should rule from the highest seats in our country. This ultimate lesson is that white believes black-skinned people are not worthy to rule over their people. The country is filled with immigrants, yet white power is the name of their game. One may ask why. When blacks built the White House, they ruled and brought forth inventions that they claim. At this late hour, some Caucasians still believe blacks should still be their slaves and feed their babies. Nooses are never far from their hands. Some even hang them in their office building. Where did white power come from, dear lady? It came up out of their skin. Some believe white skin makes them the better person, not realizing that all skin is made out of dirt and will one day dissolve and return to dirt. This leaves the U.S. government seats of all 50 states filled with an unseen pride and a systematic racial attitude. For governors' seats are bitter and cruel and can only be overturned through civil justice. A weak land is not the bridge to cross to overturn the U.S. government seats to include blacks. Only civil justice will prevail, and it shall be. A thought on that poem is that human beings need to realize, I don't care what color your skin is, you're made out of dirt, and you're going back to dirt. So the white skin, the yellow skin, the red skin, you name it, it's all made out of dirt, and it's going back to dirt. That's just a thought on that poem. But another thought is, think about it. 50 states, not one African-American governor. That's an awesome thought. Let's go on to our next poem. It's not new. It's the title of it, and it reads, there is nothing new under God's sun. The birds sing and the river flow. The earthquakes shake the earth. The lions still roar and the flowers blooms. It's not new. What has been has already been, and what is to come has already been. Men covet the beauty God has given to women. He thinks in his evil mind daily ways to steal the beauty away from them. Sometimes he will wear their dresses and make his face as a woman. He created the pants as the means to steal the manner and beauty of women. Man thinks the more he dresses them as men, the more they will become like man. He has them to smoke cigars and cross their legs so he can see up their thighs to satisfy his sexual desires. It is not new. At times he causes them to drink until drunk, to take advantage of them and steal their beauty. He calls them filter names through music to load their conscious and subconscious mind and make them feel less than woman. He walked around heaven as an angel. He got caught up in his heavenly beauty. He was tossed out of heaven and have been trying to regain that glory and beauty he had over woman. He will never get it back. God has given woman eternal beauty and adorned her as his bride. It is not new. Weak men and men of pride will always be haters of the woman's beauty. God has made man to go out and work till he sweats. And for whatever reason, these men today, some of them, think that they should be a creature of beauty. That is not the intention God had in his mind when he created male. He created you to go out, work the ground, work till you sweat. And the woman is a creature of beauty. Think about it. And why we have some men want to wear dresses and even make movies wearing dresses and think it's something cute. I don't see anything cute about it. It's a mockery of women. We're going on to our next poem. This is entitled Voices for Service. For Justice, rather. Voice for Justice. And it reads, our young black men and women has taken to the streets to protest the abuse of their slave ancestors. They carry their banners in hand. They can feel the chains on their ancestors' feet and hear the mothers crying for their children being raped by white slave owners. They hear the loud laughter of the slave owners, placing the noose around the necks of black men as their feet dangled in the air from trees. They know they won't have to stand still to see how far Pharaoh's army is behind them before they cross their Red Sea, because their Pharaoh sits in the White House and still refuses to let them go and have due justice. They know the killings of their young brothers and sisters in the streets of our cities by policemen must be stopped. Most of the Jim Crow laws cease to be. Our young people don't see dogs hunting them. They see human mad dogs that meet them with tear gas. They also meet racism and acts of white supremacy. They press on and protest peacefully in the streets. They carry their pain and cry for justice in the street, in hopes their voices will be heard by high officials of the land. Behold, they hear voices of their white friends. They hear Mexicans, Asians, and Native American voices. They hear international voices that realize Black Lives Matter. Yes, at times our young people express anger, but they knew their elders wished them well. A lot in that poem to consider, because we see a lot of protesters out there in the street. And remember, the whole idea behind bringing these poems to you is to address some of those themes, major themes we see out there in the street. And protest is one of those themes that's going on right now. And we see a lot of that in the days of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he used the young people, so to speak, so to bring forth his nonviolent strategies in the land. And the young people have a right to be angry. You think about generations of slavery, it just trickled right down to them. So now they want to have their voices heard. We're going on to our next poem. This one's entitled, I Was There, and it reads, I was there when you didn't see me. I was there. I saw you beat, hang, and rape my people, but you didn't see me. They sung my songs in your presence, but you didn't see or hear me. You hung a lot of my people. I was there. You put them in chains and made them work with sweat drops like rain falling from their faces. I was there but you didn't hear me. When I told you to let my people go, you didn't hear me. When I told you not to seek my dogs on my black people, you made my animals like the brute beast that was in you. I saw you. My people will arise and fly like eagles above your wickedness and devour you like lions without mercy. It is a new day now because you didn't hear me. You hardened your hearts and rejected the hair and skin color I exclusively gave them to show my glory among my people. But my mercy and grace will never leave them, nor the inheritance I gave them. You can trace their tracks and prove I planted them as the oldest civilization on my earth. For this reason, I will never forsake the unique image I gave them on my earth. For 100 years you kept them bound and made mockery of them. I was there, but you didn't see me. Now it is a new day. I still see you. Now, I just take a special delight in that poem because you think about all the different races that come here to the land of the United States of America. Most of them are yellow skinned, and not a one of those races, check it out for yourself, have been treated as the African American slaves. And that's a shame and a pity to just even think that. But this poem is written in the first person, and this way I want you to kind of receive it. It's like that's the voice of the Lord speaking. We're going on to our last poem for the night, and this one is entitled Women Without Pants, and it reads, Can women climb trees without wearing pants? I did. Can women wear bicycles without wearing pants? I did. Can women ride a horse without wearing pants? I did. Do women have to expose their bodies in normal daily activities? In a word, no. Your mother should have taught these lessons. When a woman knows how to control her body, she can enter any facet in life without pants. Women and feminism who want to be equal with men will never learn how to carry their bodies without exposure. They just want to be equal with men. This is a silly goal for some women. They are dull to the fact that a woman will never be a man, nor will she be equal with men. God has made male and female. God is not confused. He gave man and woman a proper place on earth. Yell if you want to, it will not help. God is the same yesterday and today. So my poem continues. Some women refuse to have a dress in their closet. This reveals the power of the government. Imagine a world without women wearing pants. If every woman refused to wear the pants garment, the market would crumble like a cookie. Men would realize women are due respect and honor and would have no other recourse than to give woman her due respect and honor. I blame parents for not teaching their daughters the way and manner of a woman. I blame parents for not keeping modesty as a centerpiece in their homes. When the lesson of modesty and respect for women return to the homes, stages and movies won't be filled with naked women, nor would you have a woman call filthy names in songs, my dear lady. We have a battle against foxes and wolves, found among the sons and men we fail to teach how to not disregard our God-given beauty and honor. I am so glad to have created that poem because it says loud and clear, women have just about lost their honor by and respect by wearing these pants that man has created for them. The poem talks about the man as being a fox, and he is a fox. He knows just how to bring women down through this garment called pants. And that's what he's doing, loud and clear, right in front of your face. But the women, the poem tells you about the silly women. The silly women buy right into that. So you think about my poem, it speaks for itself. And once again, these are themes that I saw out there in society that I want to share with you through poetry. Be blessed. And hopefully you'll have a nice idea next time you look at these different themes in society, you can come forth with some more ideas of what you can do, your part, to improve these things we see out in society. So be blessed.